There we go. All right, so we're going to record this, and I can put the recording up on our website later for anyone who was not able to make the meeting today, this virtual information session. And since most of you are graduated now, if you've been on OPT and are at the point of applying for STEM, you may not be able to access My Charger anymore. So we keep a page on the external website to make sure you can access our resources. And so this will be posted on that external website. All right, so the STEM extension application, if you graduated in May 2022, it's coming up on the right time for you to be applying for the STEM extension. End of April, May, June is usually the peak period for people applying for the STEM extension. So if you're joining us, please mute yourself, and you can use the chat to ask questions, but I probably won't be able to concentrate on what I'm saying and answer questions at the same time. But I promise that I'll leave time at the end so we can answer questions for you. So the STEM extension of OPT is a 12, everybody gets 12 months of what we call post-completion. And the STEM is a 2-year extension onto that for any students who have completed an academic degree, and that was designated as a STEM degree program. On our website, we have a list under, I think it's under in the admissions page, for the graduate admissions page. I'm going to ask Esma if she could put that link in the chat so you can see, was your program STEM eligible here at the University of New Haven? And you can check to be sure it is. And the other way you know whether or not your program is STEM eligible is by the what we call the CIP code, CIP code. So next to on your I-20, somewhere it's listing your program information. It has a number and the name of a program. It doesn't always match what we are calling the program. The number has been assigned by the Connecticut Higher Education Office based on whatever curriculum that we presented to them, and we can kind of ask for a particular number. That is how our Master of Public Health ended up with the STEM eligible number. We showed them the curriculum, showed that there was some research and statistical data in there that would make it STEM eligible. And we were able to get a number for the MPH, which is actually STEM eligible. However, when we type that number into CVIS, it automatically populates a title and it looks like biomedical sciences other or something strange. So the same thing happens sometimes to some of the other programs. I think business analytics looks like business statistics when we put that number in there. But it's that number that determines whether or not the program that we have here is eligible for a STEM extension. So if you look that number up, you can go to the DHS CVIS page, which also is now there, called Study in the States. The link is on the chat. You can find the official list of all the numbers which are considered STEM eligible, and then look up the number that's on your I-20. If for some reason you know, on our website it says your program is STEM eligible, but you look up your number and it doesn't seem to be right, please contact us so we can check it out for you. So if the STEM degree, STEM is short for science, technology, engineering, mathematics, is on that list, and your employer is also eligible, because the employer plays an important role in the STEM extension. And so the employer also has to be eligible, meaning that they are e-verified. They can fill out an I-983 on your behalf. So the employer does have to be a part of this as well. The application, again, just like the OPT application, it goes to the U.S. immigration people, USCIS, excuse me, and they're the ones who make the decision as to whether or not they're going to approve your application. So the best thing we could do here at the university is try to give you the right kind of information, give you some instructions, give you a checklist so that you can be careful about making the application. And best chances of success is submitting the application, I-765 application, to USCIS correctly. And that's what this this information session is one step for that. I don't know whether you still have access to that Canvas course that you did when you were applying for post-completion OPT. The instructions are there, but we have on the website the PowerPoint slides as well, and an OPT STEM handbook with information. So if you go to the website, you'll also find a whole bunch of helps for how to do this correctly. So we talked about your qualifying degree. We talked, the job has to be at least 20 hours a week. USCIS defines full-time as anything 20 hours or over. So it has to be a full-time job to qualify for the STEM extension. And you have to work for a qualifying employer. We talked about that. They're e-verified, able to fill an I-983. I'll be talking more about the I-983 in this session. So the employer participates in this. It's not a sponsorship like that they're sponsoring your visa, but they do have to be a part of the process. So like all employment authorizations, USCIS is going to look at this and determine. And sometimes they send a request for evidence. We call it an RFE for short. They want to know more. They're looking at your application. Typically, they're looking at whatever CPT you did. They're looking at your OPT. They're mostly, that's what they're most care about. So sometimes a question they might ask is, okay, prove to me that you were actually employed during your post-completion OPT. We want to see job offer letters. We want to see pay stubs, a verification letter from the employer, something to prove that you weren't just telling us you were working there, but that you were actually working there. And they'll check out if you were working voluntarily. They want to know what kind of organization was it. Was it a charitable organization? Well, then that makes sense. So you might have been doing some volunteer work for a charitable organization. But if you were working for a company that should have been paying you and they weren't, then that would be problematic. And that's the kind of thing that they're looking for. So they are going to be scrutinizing your application, and they may ask questions through the process of the RFE, request for evidence. They don't ask everyone, but often they do in the STEM application more so than they did in the post-completion. If you get an RFE, let us know. We'll help you interpret it, figure out what it is that they want to see so that you can then send them whatever that evidence is that they want to know. And I want to tell you that we're starting to use your non-student email. For the most part, a Gmail or something that you gave us somewhere along the line. If we maybe have something old, make sure we have your most up-to-date alternate email. And you can use any one of our forms to send that to us. But also, if by chance you're still using your student email and you want to keep using your student email and they haven't shut it down, that you're still able to, we can put that email in CVIS for you if that's your preference. But mostly we'll be putting a non-student email in there because we don't know if those login credentials are going to keep working. So here's the process, how you apply for the STEM extension. So this is similar to what you did when you applied for post-completion OPT. There'll be a certain memory kind of ticking in for you. Oh yeah, I remember that. So first of all, you're going to need, again, a particular I-20 that's for the STEM request. The same as for the post-completion OPT, you needed a specific I-20 that said this has been requested. So we have to do it in CVIS, recommended in CVIS, and print out that special I-20. So that's one of the things you're going to need to do. That STEM OPT request form that's linked here, that's one of our forms. Again, it's on that external website that I talked about. So that when you're ready to request that special I-20, you can send it there. It's in the chat too. That's our external website page for UIS. So we're going to want to see a copy of that completed I-983. You've done that with your employer. because there's questions that they have to answer, questions you have to answer, so you kind of do it together. And we're required by the regulations to read over that I-983 and make sure that it's complete, that it's exactly what it's supposed to be, before we give you the I-20. So again, on this website, the special SEVP website called Study in the States, that chat was put in, the link was put in the chat as well, and it's also available on our website. You'll find a link to the form I-983 there. It's a fillable form. It's not an online form like the I-765 application is. So you can fill it out and print it to PDF if you want, because we need to see it, and you could then put it onto our request form when you're sending it to us. So the I-765, now that you can file those things online, you might want to print out a draft copy. Please don't submit it till you have everything. So if you want us to look at your I-765, either print out a draft copy and upload it to our request form, or you can go again online to USCIS forms and play with that downloadable form that they have, practice on it. You can do that again if you want, and if you want us to look at it to make sure you kind of have the fields correct. It's going to be similar to the other post-completion OPT application, but there's some fields that are a little bit different in the STEM. Again, we want to see your EAD card. You may have already sent us a copy of that at some point when you're reporting in on your new jobs that you got during OPT. But do upload it again to the STEM request form. We're going to want to refer to those dates on that card, because the start of STEM is specifically 1 day after the expiration date on your EAD. So we're going to want to make sure that we're matching those dates properly when we're doing the action in CVIS. We want a new offer letter. You may have been working for the same company for a year, perhaps. The same company that's going to help you with the I-983. But we need now a current or an updated, if it's not an offer letter, it could be a verification letter that you're still working there. But it has to be more recent than the one you gave us a year ago. So we're going to look through everything you've submitted on that the STEM OPT request form, kind of make sure you have everything together. It's one layer of help that we can offer, just kind of make sure that you're on the right track. By now, it's going to make more sense to you because you've already been on OPT for 1 year. But we'll look over it for you just to be safe. So then once you've done the I-983, we've been able to look at it, everything's good. You'll be ready to file the I-765 online. Make sure you have all the other things that you need. Again, they want copies of every I-20 that has either CPT or OPT on it. They want copies of all previous I-20s. Now you've got more I-20s that have OPT on it. If you got a new employer, if you changed employers, anything like that, you're going to have more than one now that has OPT on it. One that said requested, one that said approved, one that had an employer change, whatever. You're going to have more than one I-20 that has OPT on it. And if you did CPT, you may have a couple I-20s that have CPT on them as well. So again, scan those into one PDF, scan all of your other previous I-20s into a separate PDF, because they're going to be uploaded in 2 different places when you're doing the online I-765. You need new passport style photos. They have to be within 3 months. You cannot use the same ones that you used when you applied for post-completion OPT. So go out and get new passport photos. Most drugstores like the CVS can get it. I went to the AAA, if you're familiar with that, American Automobile Association, and I was actually able to get a digital photo when I needed to update my passport. So there could be, find a place that actually provides you the digital photo. Whole lot easier to upload than trying to scan hard copy passport photos. So if you can find a place that'll give you the digital passport photo, even better. So let's see. Updated fee information. As far as I know, it's still $410 like it was for post-completion OPT, but you can check the USCI website. They all of a sudden decide they're going to change their fees. So, we never know when that's going to happen. They just suddenly announce that they're changing their fees. So not a bad idea to go on it and make sure that it's still $410. Now when you do the I-765, your category is changing. It's now C3C. It's not C3B. Post-completion was C3B. Now it's C3C, which is the STEM extension. So this is actually a new category. You're not renewing your previous EAD because you're actually filing in a new category, which is C3C. Okay, there is still a paper packet. If you prefer putting together the paper packet and shipping it off in the mail to USCIS, the online, of course, is much more convenient. Plus, you get an automatic case number. You know, after you've done it, they give you your number and you can begin tracking online as your application unfolds. So the online is a nice place. You can always ask questions too if you need to. If you do get an RFE, you can handle that through the online account. So it, you know, we do recommend the online I-765. So here's the I-983. We're going to go over this a little bit to give you an idea of what goes into the different fields on the I-983. Again, your employer is going to be helping you with this. So I don't know if you have an HR office or a supervisor or someone who, if you're fortunate, you're at a place where they've seen this before and they kind of already know what to put in it. But we're available here in the UIS to assist. If you're just not exactly sure, just reach out to us. We'll try to help you. So the first page on the I-993 is your name. No surprise, the first thing you put in there is your name. Again, match your passport. This time they give you one line to put everything in rather than, you know, a bunch of different fields on the I-765. You have last name, first name, whatever. Your student email address, that does not have to be your unh.newhaven.edu. It can be a Gmail. You can use whatever email you want in there, but they mean they want your personal email, not your company email. So the name of school recommending, that's University of New Haven. School where the STEM degree was earned, University of New Haven. You know, I suppose if some of you did an undergraduate degree at another school, you could possibly apply for STEM based on a degree you did previously. But for most of you, you're applying because of the degree that you did here at the University of New Haven. The school code is on your I-20. It starts with BOS 214F. That's our school code. And that there's one digit different if you're in the College of Business, the orange campus, or if you're on engineering, you're in the main campus, or School of Health Sciences, you're on the main campus. There's one digit difference between those school codes. Designated school official, you can use me, you can use Clem or Kiara, any one of us here at the UIS. Feel free to put my name in there if you wish. Your CVIS ID number, you know what that is now, that N number at the corner of your I-20. Your STEM requested period. Again, it's going to start one day after your EAD expiration, your post-completion EAD, one day after that, and go for 2 years. So if your post-completion says June 1st to May 31st, your June 1st, 2022 to May 31st, 2023, your STEM is going to say June 1st, 2023 to May 31st, 2025. So based on whatever the dates are on that EAD. If your EAD says July 1st to June 30th, then it's going to be July 1st to June 30th on your STEM period, only 2 years this time. Qualifying major and zip code, again, copy this off of your I-20. The level or type of qualifying degree, that means bachelor's, master's, is what they're looking for there. Date awarded, what was the date that you got? What you can use the diploma date or your, you know, May 31st, 2022, which was your completion date. Either one could go there. Based on prior degree, for most of you know, it's going to be based on the degree that you finished with us. You know, occasionally someone is using a degree they earned before to apply for STEM, but most of the time you're using the one that you had finished last year. If you were using a degree that that you studied at a previous school, they're going to ask for information about that previous school because they want to know, was it, was it an eligible, certified, accredited institution or not? Employment authorization number, that's on your EAD card. Most of them, they start with IOE something, is your employment authorization number. Whatever's on the EAD, that number is what you're going to put there. Okay, next section, section 3. Now they want information about your employer. So this is the employer that's doing the I-983 that's supporting you in this STEM extension. You can possibly have more than one employer. They both have to be full-time. They both have to be STEM eligible to be able to do an I-983. But my suggestion is apply with one. Let's get the STEM. We will need to collect an I-983 from the second employer as well, but we can add that to your CVIS record later to not confuse things. But if you have one full-time job and then a couple little part-time jobs during STEM, you're going to have to leave behind the couple little part-time jobs and focus on that main job only. So employer name, employer address, website, all of this is information about the company that you work for. Here it's saying employer ID number, EIN. That is not the same as the E-Verify number. Those are two different numbers. One's called an EIN, employer ID number. Another is called the E-Verify number. Those are two different numbers. You're going to need both of them. Here, they're asking for the EIN number. How many employees does this company employ? Could be a large number or a small number. Depends how big the company is that you're working for. And then the North American Industry Classification, NAICS code. You could Google those and find out. If it's construction, if you're a civil engineer working for a construction company, there's going to be some sort of classification number for construction companies. So you'll look it up based on the type of company that you're working for. But again, your HR person, whoever's helping you with this, should be able to find that for you. OPT hours per week. So you're working full time, just write in 40 hours per week or 35 hours per week, whatever they're calling that. Your salary amount, compensation, if you have salary plus other types of benefits putting together that make up the salary, you don't need to put in all your insurance benefits and all that. They just want to know basic pay. How are you being paid? So could be just that top line is enough for the company that you work for. Some is people that are in sales, they get a base salary and then they also earn some sort of compensation percentage of things that they sell. So that would be in a situation where there would be other compensation attached to what they do. Most of you, if you're engineers, you're working in public health, chances are you have one salary. That's how you get paid. And so you just need that one. OPT hours per week. Oh, we did that. Full-time, 35 to 40. Start date of employment. When did you work? When did you start working for this particular employer? So you may have worked for more than one employer during post-completion OPT, but whenever you started to work for this one, that's the date that you're going to put there. Okay. So when you get to section 5, that's blank right now. Section 5 is going to be, oh, I'm sorry. Section 5 is not page 5. Let me back up. Section 5 you need to fill out with your employer. So section 5 is training plan. So again, your name and your employer's name. And then there's information about the site. So if you're working for a smaller company, probably the address of the company and the address of the site where you work are exactly the same. If you're working for a pretty big company, they might have a headquarters main office that you report to, but you're actually working at a branch office somewhere else. So your site is where you actually are physically located. If you're working for a company that shops you out, you're a contractor, they send you to one client, and when you're done with that, they send you to another client, then this would be the client's address, whatever currently the client is that you're working for. And if you work remotely, it could be your own address if you have a remote office that you work in. So the employer site information is where you're actually physically located as you work. So on the previous page is the main company headquarters. What's their address? Here it is. Where are you actually working? So it could be a client's site address. It could be a branch office, could be a remote office. So then they want to know the name of the official, who's your supervisor, basically. If they were going to call someone to ask them whether you're actually there and working, your supervisor would be the one to be able to say, yeah, he comes in every week. We see him all the time. He's here. That's the person you need to put there, your supervisor. And their title, their email, their phone number. Then there are four boxes, sorry. There are four boxes here: student role, goals and objectives, employer oversight, measures and assessments. So this is basically the job, your job description. What are your duties? They want to know, what's the goal, objective of what you do? What's, for the company, you're achieving what for them? Employer oversight, how are you supervised? Measures and assessments, do they have some sort of performance evaluation system where they, let you know whether or not you're performing well enough? Those are the kinds of things that are going to go in these sections. And again, an HR person would probably know what they're talking about here. Now, this is page 5, not section 5. Page 5, at first, for the initial application, you're going to leave blank. This is, there are going to be 2 evaluations that go on here later. If you stay with the same company the whole time, that's great. So you get, every 6 months, you have to do a report. At 12 months, you need to fill in that top section. You're doing a quick report evaluation. It can be a self-evaluation. You could write it yourself. I would say if you're meeting with your supervisor for a performance evaluation, that would be the perfect thing to put in there. And then the second one at the bottom is either at 24 months or if you change employers. And so you're leaving one employer and you're then going to start work with a new employer, then you would also put in this section a final evaluation for the employer that you're leaving. And you'll be doing an all new, brand new I-983 for the new employer that you're going to. So if you change jobs, there's I-983 work that needs to happen at that time. Again, you need to report in at 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, and 24 months. You can use our OPT STEM update form to do that. We have to go into SEVIS and click a box to confirm that you've reported in. That box is only available for like a 10-day period of time, 15-day period of time. So please be timely when you send that to us so we can make sure we report it before that little button disappears in SEVIS and no longer have that function in the database. SEVIS is a database. Those of you who know what databases are, there's only so much functionality. We can't do just anything. And there are time periods when certain functions are available and time periods when those functions time out or whatever. So, please be timely and we will click the buttons for you in SEVIS and make sure that you are reporting on time. Use our e-forms again every 6 months, but at 12 and 24 months, you need these evaluations on page 5. So if you would be filing by mail, you would not include the I-983 in the application mailing packet. I do not think you upload it to the USCIS I-765 either. If I'm correct, it's not there, but we need it. We're required to hold it here in the office. We're also required to upload it to your SEVIS record. So please make sure that we have it so that we can do what we need to do with it and keep track in SEVIS, everything to make sure you're reporting in all the time. At this point, we have not seen them actually terminate a SEVIS record if nobody reported, but we do know they send out emails if you don't report in. So please try to remember, put it on your calendar, make your Apple Watch beep at a certain time, certain day, 6 months down the road, so that you make sure you do the reporting. And again, we do everything in SEVIS. You will have access to a portal in SEVIS where you'll be able to do a couple things. You might be able to change your address. You might be able to write in your change your employer address and post-completion OPT. On STEM, you might not be able to because you have to give us an I-983 first. So the functionality changes a bit, but we have to do everything anyway. So please just send us everything. Even if you are able to put something in your portal, please send it to us too, because we need it too. And that way we'll always add things to your CVIS record as we go. We'll keep it up to date for you. So here's a quick timeline of how things work during the STEM period, the 2 years following your post-completion OPT period. So you're submitting the STEM extension to us within the right period. So 90 days prior to the start date of STEM, or I should say 90 days prior to the expiration date on your current EAD, your post-completion OPT EAD. So that end date, whatever that is on your EAD, that's the date we're talking about. So you can apply up to 90 days prior. You cannot apply afterwards. And so actually it's like 11:59 p.m. the day before that you can still submit that I-765 online. So please don't wait too long. Don't drive anybody crazy. If you need to submit something to us, you know, we need 4 or 5 business days to make it happen. So, you know, be timely. Don't wait to the last minute. You're submitting the application. Well, it'll process still. It's still going to take 2-3 months to process, the same as the OPT application did. Sometimes there's a request for evidence that you have to answer, but you're allowed to keep working for 180 days. So that's what, about 6 months. You can keep working while your STEM application is processing. 6 months is usually plenty of time for them to process this and get you the new EAD. You get a new EAD for STEM with now the new dates on it for your STEM extension. We have that OPT STEM update information form available. You can use that for anything and everything that you need. We will respond to that. You can also use the general inquiry form that we have. If you just have a question that you're not sure about, send that to us. That actually gets you into the queue sooner for your question to be answered, because if you email it, we have to put it into the queue, which means somebody got ahead of you in the queue because they submitted it directly. So the more you use the e-forms, the faster, the quicker you'll get into the queue and the faster you get your answer. So remember, every 6 months, at 6 and 18 months, you don't have to do the evaluation on the I-983. You just send in our OPT STEM update form. You confirm that you're still working for that employer. You confirm where you're living, your address, phone number, and that's really what you need on the 6-month report. Again, at 18 months, it's just that. Just tell us you're still working at the same employer and give us your address and contact information to make sure that's all up to date. Then at 12 and 24 months, you would also have to do the evaluation on page 5 of the I-983. And at any time you change employers or you get a promotion so that your title is changing, we need to redo the I-983. If the address, the employer moves and they change their address, anything like that that was on the I-983 will have to be changed again. So I'm going to finish. I see one person has their hand up. I'm going to finish my presentation and I'll be glad to take questions. In the meantime, let me finish up here. So you have 2 years in the STEM extension. Anytime during that time, the employer can file for the H-1B visa. So they may have tried once during the post-completion OPT. Maybe you weren't selected. Now during STEM, there'll be 2 more times that they can try to get you selected for the H-1B visa. And remember, once you're selected, you still have to actually apply for the change of status from F-1 to H-1B. So there's like a, even after you're selected, there's a process of application. I always say keep that F-1 alive until the H-1 is the final approval is there. Once you have your final approval, you're fine. So let's say right now you were selected for the H-1B on post-completion OPT, but it's still processing. You don't have the final approval yet. You may want to apply for STEM just to be sure, because if you wait and then you find out that you were not approved for whatever reason, it's probably too late to apply for the STEM extension. But if you apply for it now and in the end you change over to H-1B, no big deal. You've at least saved your F1 status for a little bit longer. So think about that if you're not sure yet. You know, you maybe were selected but haven't been approved yet. If you're approved before you get to the end date of your EAD card, then you're fine. You don't have to worry about it. When the STEM extension ends, let's say you went through 3 years and you were unlucky, you never got selected to the H-1B lottery at any of those times, you can start another academic program, a second master's degree. Some of you will find out that you're pretty good at teaching. You might want to do a PhD, become a professor in your field. Anything like that, you can go on and study again before your F1 status ends altogether, but you have to do that, you know, at the end. You don't get a lot of time in between. There's a 60-day grace period to depart the US if you're not transferring to another school or you weren't able to get the H-1B. But you've got a lot of great experience. You've got a wonderful degree. There are jobs all over the world for people who have your talent. So let's hope you can move forward in your plan, but you know, there's always a chance that you need a plan B, and you could be thinking about what that could be in just in case. Okay, so now we'll take opportunities for questions. I guess I'll stop sharing so I can do questions a little better. And do use that raise hand function for the Zoom, because that way it'll move you to the, if you remember how Zoom works, it'll move you to the top. I can see your hand and call on you for your question. So Neil, I see you have a question. Go ahead, unmute yourself and ask the question.
Sure, Kathy. So my question is, when filing the post-completion OPT on the USCIS website, I created an account. Do I have to use the same account again?
Yeah, you can use that same account again. That way, any information that they already have, they can still access it. It's a smart way to go.
Okay, so but I use my college email ID to create that account. Is that totally fine?
You can, as long as you still have access to it. In other words, it still works for you.
I mean, yeah, it still works. But then my question is, for STEM extension, can I use email, Gmail? My Gmail
if you want
address.
to change it, you can. Yes, this is the time to change it. I think they have a profile information page that you could just go in and change your profile information, if I'm correct.
Got it. All right, that was my question. Thank you.
Yeah, and this is a good time to do it, to change over to a Gmail or something like that.
Sure.
Any other questions? Again, use the raise hand feature if you have a question. Did I explain it that well that nobody has questions?
Oh, I do have, Kathy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go
I just
ahead,
raised
Vijaya.
how are you?
All right.
So in the USCIS website, while we file for the I-765, we need to provide some evidence. And those evidence are, you know, the photos, I-20s, whatever. And I got confused with the last term of institution accreditation. I believe we do not need that one because we only have the college degree, right?
Right. So that section is required if you are using a degree that you earned at another school other than UNH, then they want to know that that school was an accredited school. So that's what that spot is there for. If you're, you know, using our degree, you got our degree, you did post-completion on our degree, then you really don't need that because we're already part of your profile. If you feel better about uploading something to that slot just for the sake of uploading something, you could go to our website, look for the accreditation page, print it to PDF and upload that. Here it is. This shows that UNH is accredited. So I guess you could do the same thing if you were using a previous school's I-20. You could go to their webpage and find their accreditation information and put it there. But it's really, that field is there for people who are using a degree from a previous school.
Okay, thank you. And I have one more question. On the reporting side, for every 6 months after, when you apply for this STEM, For example, let's say somebody got picked up for H1 right now, and the possible timeline is they will have it approved by the October. So someone EAD starts from June and their H1 already get approved by the October. So that won't be 6 months timeline for those people. So in that case, do they still need to do the reporting or?
Yes. So if you at any point during your STEM period, there's 2 years, you have an H-1B pending and then it's approved. And then at the point, which is October 1st, because it always kicks in, a few exceptions, universities and hospitals may not be October 1st, but most of you, it's going to be October 1st that the H-1B starts. So if the 6-month time period happens after October 1st, then you no longer need it, because at that point, you're no longer an F-1 person, you're now an H-1B.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, if you do get selected and then hopefully approved, we would like copies of that, the selection notice, and then also the approval notice. And again, if you get the approval notice before your post-completion OPT ends, you will not need to apply for STEM. But if you don't have the approval yet and your post-completion is ending, you may want to apply for STEM just to kind of hold that little window of cushion of safety net in between until you get the actual approval. Up to you. But it's because you still haven't had the actual approval, it gives you one piece of safety net if you want it.
Right. Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. When you change over to H-1B, we'll be like, bye-bye. We're so happy you've grown up and made your way into the world. You'll no longer be under our visa jurisdiction. You're now under your employer's visa jurisdiction. We'll be closing down your CVIS record with a bright star saying this was one of our great students, they've moved on. But you will no longer be F1 and we will not be able to service anything related to that anymore.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so those of you that are, in that lucky enough to have made the selection the first time around, do keep us informed. We will be celebrating with you that you were able to make that next step. But of course, not everybody. Unfortunately, there's only so many thousands of visas available and many more thousands who apply. So that's why they do the lottery. But if you have 3 years to try for it, at least you have more chances. Any other questions? Yeah, and if you prefer writing your question in the chat, I see Esma's helping me with the chat function there. You can, if you would rather type it in, you may. Again, I will be uploading a recording of this session to that external web page. The slides will be there as well. And the slides actually are already somewhere in the OPT handbook or the somewhere they're already posted, actually, these same slides. I used these in October or November when I did this previously. So they're already up there somewhere. And I don't know that you have access to Canvas anymore. At some point, perhaps those credentials don't work, but it is on the external website. You can get that there. Again, all of our forms are accessible through the external website. You can keep using our forms to request something, ask questions, or email uis@newhaven.edu if you come up with any questions. And again, if you want to print out a draft copy of that I-765, just so that we can look at it and give you an idea, you may do that if you wish, and we'll give it a look. I usually make sure you have the right category on there, that kind of the right things are in the right places. The I-983 is going to be the more critical document for the STEM extension. Do pay attention to that. And there are helps on the the SCVP website, Study in the States. They have helps for the I-983 there as well. And that's a place your employer can go to. So if your employer has never filled out an I-983 before, that USCI, I'm sorry, it's not US, different federal agency, the SCVP website study in the States has information there for employers if this is their first time filling out a 9983. So it can be helpful for them. Brand new company, they haven't had international students for long, but they're very happy with you. So they're willing to learn this. Not so hard. It's really not that hard to do, but there are instructions on that website for them. Okay, so if you're like me, you'll think of a question about 5 minutes from now after we shut down, but you know how to send us questions if you come up with one. We'll be glad to answer them for you. Thanks, everyone. Glad some of you were able to attend today. I've tried to put it at a lunch hour time so that you could, at least watch during your lunch hour. But we'll post this. If anybody else needs to see it, they can find it posted on the website. Pajaya, another question?
I'm sorry, yes. When I first applied for my OPT, I informed the details of my employer and everything to UAS, but when I got the I-20, the approval was pending. Then I informed that to UAS. Recently, I got the new I-20 saying approved.
Oh,
But
good.
at this point, when I apply for the I-765 to the USCIS, do I need to upload that pending I-20 as well? Because that was supposed to be approved, not the pending. So there might be a confusion with the USCIS, like why it was pending before and now it's approved. So
Actually, that's not what they're going to think. They're going to be looking for, do you have an OPT I-20 that says requested and one that says pending? Do you have one that says approved? As long as you have that
okay.
final one that says approved, they're happy. So it's
Okay.
okay to upload it. They're going to look at the whole trajectory of how the process happens. So it's okay if you have one that says pending.
Okay, so now I do have both pending and approved. So I think I'm all set.
Yeah, upload all of them into the slot that says anything with OPT and CPT on it. It goes into that slot.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And again, if you get an RFE, let us know. We'll help you figure it out. But typically they ask things like, prove to me that your CPT was curricular. Well, okay, you can show them that it matches your transcript. You can show the Charger Link forms, our forms. There's a whole lot of ways you can show them it was curricular. And then they might ask, okay, we want to know about your OPT employment. We want to see pay stubs or offer letters or contracts or something. Hopefully you can access all of that. I always tell people keep everything, make scans of things onto a USB drive or something. So you just kind of keep everything somewhere in a handy place. So thanks, everyone. Glad you could join us. Wish you the very best as you make this next step in your career. All right. Bye-bye.